So hi there.
Hello and welcome to this week's Fact
Fuck's sake, right, yeah, it's Fact Fiend focus, we're back and it's Robocop. Bell end. Also, I cut my nails so I get off my fucking can of pop. Oh, no drinking for this one. Robocop gets me hyping off. Okay, so Brad, as per usual, would you like to explain to the wonderful people at home what the topic of today's video is specifically?
Well, anyone who's watched a lot of videos on the channel will know that Karl fucking loves Robocop. And he's done a commentary before. We've done like 3 or 4 videos on various things like Kinney and something about the suit, I think, as well.
Yeah, the Robocop suit.
We're just going to do a focus for Karl.
And the audience.
No, it's for Karl. To talk about the hidden meanings and depth in Robocop that people who watched it initially didn't realise.
Yeah, and this includes both just like casual viewers of movies and fucking movie critics, because you watched the movie yesterday in preparation for this video, correct?
I watched 1, 2, 3 and the reboot, Karl.
So you watched Robocop yesterday for the purpose of this video. We might mention the sequels, you never know. Maybe the reboot if we get into it. From talking to me, you've noticed some of those little hidden details, but even just as a casual fan of Robocop and action movies, can you believe that when that movie was released, people thought it was 100% serious?
No.
No, for anyone who doesn't know what we mean by that, the film is 100% satire, as evidenced by all of the satirical elements contained therein, such as the one that you mentioned before we started filming, the cutaways that they have throughout the original 3 Robocop movies. And what about them made you realise, oh yeah, this is clearly taking the piss?
Because they're just so over the top and daft and clearly painting a picture of a world that's not really supposed to exist.
Yeah, it is a hyper-exaggerated version of the world. Like, for example, the idea of Robocop itself is so ridiculous, I can't believe people took it seriously. Like, critics at the time thought, oh, it's a dumb action movie. Why would anyone watch this? And even Paul Verhoeven, the director originally, wrote off the entire fucking movie as a joke when he read the title for the film, Robocop. I'm not directing this piece of shit. I'm Paul Verhoeven. And the story goes, his wife literally pulled the draft of the script out of the trash, read it and went, Paul, I think there's some depth here that a skilled director can uncover, like you. And he went back and he read it and went, oh, it's not just a dumb action movie. Like, the name Robocop belies a lot of depth in the movie. Like, this is a struggle for a man to assert himself when he's trapped inside a robotic body. A robot cop, as it were. And just so many people thought it was serious, including critics. And this might be my educational background making me sound like an elitist arsehole, but I am so baffled that that's the case. Because the opening of the movie, Brad, what happens at the opening of the movie?
The first scene?
No, well, the first scene, Alex J. Murphy, Robo-fucking-Cop, is introduced. What is the first thing Alex Murphy does in that film?
Well, aside from the stuff in the office.
When he's introduced, in the police station. Yeah, he goes on a big car chase in which he leans out of a window while firing 2 pistols at once from about that far away from an army of guys with shotguns who open fire on the windscreen while missing. And compare that to 5 minutes later in the movie when Alex J. Murphy is just getting torn apart by those same shotguns. That opening scene would be the ending, the penultimate action scene of of a generic action movie, which is what people thought Robocop was. Because it shows the hero just completely immune to all bullets in the world, firing 2 guns in the most inefficient manner possible.
I don't understand how people can watch that scene through and not realise there's something about this that's not meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah, like the fact you have a guy at point blank range firing a shotgun into the windscreen of the car and missing is supposed to be the joke of, oh, the hero, it's supposed to make you realise. The purpose of that scene is to make you think that Alex J. Murphy is invincible. He is the traditional invincible action hero man that you see in a generic action movie, which is why the surprise of him getting blown to bits 5 minutes later is so visceral, because you don't expect that from that kind of movie. The hero in those movies does not get violently blown to pieces by a shotgun.
He also gets annihilated by what can only be described as Solid Snake's entire arsenal in one scene.
Oh, yeah.
And then he gets back up. It's oh, he's not dead yet.
Yeah, as in, that's what would happen in one of those. No, this one's going to blow his fucking head off. That's supposed to be yeah, this isn't your traditional action movie fare, because this doesn't happen in one of these movies. The main character of action movies in the 80s did not get his head blown off by a guy with glasses and a shit haircut. And again, let's speak about Clarence Boddicker, the guy who eliminates Alex J. Murphy. What do you think of his design?
I mean, he looks like a villain.
He looks like a villain, yeah, but specifically, did he, evoke the imagery of anyone in particular to you? Did you notice this?
I mean, he looks a bit like Gandhi.
No, look at his glasses. Think about his glasses. His little round glasses, little bald head. It's Heinrich Himmler.
Is that who it's supposed to be?
Yeah. They gave him glasses to make him look more like Heinrich Himmler, the guy who was a big old Nazi. And again, people thought this film was serious. These are the same people who watched Starship Troopers, where you've got psychic Nazi Neil Patrick Harris walking around in an SS uniform, sending people to their death, and thought, look at this is such a stupid, silly action movie. It's like, no, it's taking the piss, you idiots.
I mean, not to get too far off the first Robocop,
Okay.
but Robocop 3 practically has Nazis walking around.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the uniforms are very clearly inspired.
We don't
by that
talk
kind
about
of soldier.
Robocop 2 and 3 because they weren't directed by Paul Verhoeven. It started this wonderful trend of Paul Verhoeven directing an awesome movie, and then they're bringing in another director who fucking just ruins it, just drives it into the ground. Because he did the same thing, Robocop, and they did it with Total Recall, and they did it with fucking Starship Troopers. And all those movies are amazing, and they've all had shit reboots, except Starship Troopers.
We've talked so much about Robocop in the past that a lot of these things that I never noticed now, watching back through yesterday, I've seen.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea of him being an allegory for Jesus.
Yeah, when you know to look out for them. That sounds really stupid. There's no Jesus allegory in Robocop, Karl. Shut up. No, go watch the movie back or watch the scenes we're going to put in and see that, oh, look, here's a scene of Robocop walking on water. Like, think about it. Alex Murphy dies and is resurrected a few days later, comes back and murders everybody. I'm sure if they retold the Bible today, that is what Jesus would do. If Jesus would have had access to an Auto 9 and a Cobra assault cannon, he would have fucking used them when tearing apart those temples and telling people what they're doing is wrong.
Just Robo-Christ.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. That's basically what it is. And again, like critics at the time didn't notice this, and I have got serious doubts in the ability of those critics to review movies if they look at a guy walking on water after being resurrected and say there's no imagery here. There's no deeper meaning behind this. It's so fucking obvious. It's like people who watched Man of Steel and said, oh, it's not a Jesus allegory in Man of Steel, as Superman Christ airs through the heavens. It's like fucking really, or the scene where Superman is talking to a priest and just Jesus is behind him on the wall. It's like, yeah, fucking hell. Zack Snyder, visionary director right here.
Going to rein you back in.
Okay.
The editor's not got very long to do this one.
All right,
she's got to
fair
stick to one film.
Yes.
While she's finding clips from other films.
So what do you want to be reined into specifically? Because there is so much cool shit people don't notice on a first watch of this film. Like, what would you like to have me talk about the depth and like hidden intricacies of now?
What about the suit?
The suit of
Is there more to
Robocop?
the suit?
Yes, there is, because the story behind the suit is it's made by Rob Bottin, who was the guy who did most of the practical effects for The Thing and a couple of other movies that we've talked about before. And the original actor slated to play Robocop was one Arnold Schwarzenegger, which would have been fucking awesome. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is a very big man, and they said, well, if we put him inside the suit, it's going to look stupid. He's going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger with bits of plastic bolted to him. What we need is a thin man who we can put inside, so he looks like a man trapped inside a robotic body. So they only got Peter Weller. And the story behind the suit is that Peter Weller could not fucking move in that suit. He took like Tai Chi and yoga classes because he wanted to make it move really smoothly. He wanted Robocop to move like the Terminator with like efficiency in mind. But the suit was so shit and so bulky, he had to change the way he moved to be more deliberate and clunky, which I think was a genius move because it makes Robocop more believable as a robot.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time whilst watching the films thinking to myself, with the added sound effects, the way he moves makes him look like a machine, particularly the turn of the head.
Yes, he always turns his
turn his
head.
head. He would stop it suddenly.
Yeah, turns his head first and then moves his entire body around with the sound effects. And every step he takes, you hear like the doo-doo, and like that's the Foley artist earning his fucking paycheck right there.
There were a lot of shots in the later ones though, where they showed him his full body walking for distances, and at that point I was like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't look
they
great.
were very careful in the first one to not show that too much.
That's because the suit was so bulky and there were a few things that Peter Weller literally could not do, such as walk downstairs or get in a car, which is why during that movie, fun fact, you will never see Robocop walk down a flight of stairs, like full body, except for in one scene where he pushes Ed 209 over and he walks down the stairs and you see Robocop walk like he shit his pants. Because that's how Peter Weller had to walk downstairs.
Is that why every single time he gets out of a car, it always shows the foot and then him stand up? Because he can't actually get out of the car?
No, because when Peter Weller was driving the Robocop, he'd wear the top half of the outfit and then nothing below. He'd just wear a pair of shorts or his underwear. But they cut around that by showing like a foot step out of the car and then the top half of his body. Same as he's walking downstairs. They show the top half of Robocop walk down the stairs and then they show his foot hit the bottom of them. It's like, oh, I would argue that editing is fucking flawless because Brad, when you were watching the film yesterday, did you suspect at any point that Robocop wasn't wearing trousers when he was driving that car?
I can't say I did.
Exactly, Brad, because that's how you edit around a fucking practical effect. Fuck you, every Hollywood action movie from like the past 10, 15 years who don't know how to do that shit. We had this crap on lock in the 80s. Damn it.
Just see them nowadays CGIing the bottom half of his body so he can get out of a car.
Well, to compare it to the 2014 reboot, my favourite part of the Robocop design is when they take off the mask and you see Alex Murphy's face stretched over a metal skeleton. That effect, to me, holds up today and is arguably one of the singular greatest practical effects ever because it is fucking seamless. So for anyone out there who isn't like me and read all the supplementary background material for Robocop, Robocop has almost no human parts left. They even make a joke about that inside. Morton says, I want full body prosthesis. Like the face of Robocop is Alex Murphy's face, and they say in the second one they made it as a gift to Alex Murphy, and the reason they did that is because they said if we put his brain into a robot body and he looked in a mirror and he didn't see a man staring back at him, his mind would just fucking explode. Because like the human mind is not built to like, you know, just comprehend that. So they put the face, so Robocop had a human face to look into a mirror and see. And behind that robot face, there is no human components whatsoever. It is all robotic. He has a completely indestructible robot skull, and that's why shooting Robocop in the face doesn't work.
The scene in the second one where he gets dismantled, they've made obviously the animatronic of his head, and you can see the machine parts inside his mouth.
Yes. Like
because obviously they've put that effort into so that you know that...
Also, his teeth are indestructible.
Oh.
Because they are robot teeth. Like I said, it's a complete fix. The only thing that's real is the face, and if you look closely, you can see the bullet wound in the top of his head, and that's where Alex Murphy was shot through the face.
That is attention to detail.
Yes,
right there.
and as well, Joe, did you watch the theatrical cut or did you watch the director's cut?
I think it was theatrical because it was on Netflix, and Kinney definitely did not die very long.
Okay, because in the director's cut, you get to see the back of Alex Murphy's head get blown out. And the story behind that is obviously half his brain's gone, and they replace that with a machine, which is why Robocop's memory is half digital, and why they say, oh, his memory is admissible in court, because they replace the parts of his brain that have been blown the fuck out with a machine. And there's almost nothing human left of Alex Murphy bar his vital organs, his brain, and the bit of his face they managed to cobble together to stretch over a fucking skull. And then you compare that to the 2014 reboot, where it just looks like Iron Man. It does, doesn't it? It looks like Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like, even if you discount the look of the face, just the look of the body in that, there's no whirring gears. So if you look at the Robocop design, his elbows are just big gears, and it doesn't look like you could fit a human body inside that, and that's why it works. And then you compare it to the 2014 reboot, where you could almost buy it as a robot with a man's head stuck on top of it if it didn't have the fucking human hand. And do you know the story behind why that's in? Because it's explained in a deleted scene.
Yeah, it's because you trust something if it can shake your hand.
Yes, Michael. If people are wondering, Michael Keaton's character says in that film, give Robocop a real hand so he can shake someone's hand, so he can put a human element to this design. And I think that's still stupid because it goes completely against what they say in Robocop, the original, where Morton says, no, total body's prosthesis. Why the fuck would we save his left arm? It is inefficient and useless. Replace it with a robot hand that can crush a fucking car.
I reckon if they'd gone down in the reboot, the route of making it all about whether or not it's a man or a machine making a decision, they should have given him a real hand, although when he fought, something should have gone over the hand.
I think that's true, yeah.
But
it should have. That's exactly what should have happened.
But halfway through, he should have taken damage to it, and it should have been a robotic hand with his skin
underneath, yeah.
At which point he's then, oh my god, even my hand's not real. Because that would have added more elements to the am I a machine or am I a man? Would you was making the decisions.
Well, you know what?
But no, big dumb action film.
You know what the symbolism behind that is, don't you?
What?
It's about drone warfare. It's because obviously Robocop pulls the trigger with a human hand. And it's supposed to be, oh, are the human hands piloting drones responsible for the kills they do? It's like, oh, you could not have made this any more fucking blunt. This is like blunt force trauma in symbolism form. It's ridiculous.
They've already got that with having a human brain and face inside the machine. Yeah, that's the whole point of the film.
But audiences are stupid. He has to have the human hand. he has to have the human hand so he can touch his son's face and he'd be like, oh no, I miss my son. God, that design's so like, put behind me just a picture of Robocop in the original, his face all fucking plastered over that Robo skull, and then like, is it Joel McKinnon?
I don't remember.
In the new one, where he looks like Tony Stark in the first Iron Man movie. Look at it. No, you know what? Replace Robocop with a picture of Tony Stark in the Iron Man armour. It looks... You do not...
when Tony Stark's mask goes up, it's like that.
You do not for 1 second buy that is a human brain implanted inside a robot body.
Which is a shame, because the scenes where they remove the armour and show he's like what's left, I think that scene it's pretty good.
Yeah, and
when he's looking at himself in the mirror, he says, I never want to see myself like this again.
That's the inferred body horror of the original. Because, again, in the behind-the-scenes material, they say that the only reason that Alex Murphy is a successful Robocop is because he's like a really strong Catholic and he absolutely abhors the idea of suicide. And it's that combined with his unflinching sense of duty and honour that allows him to circumvent what happens in Robocop 2 when all the robots immediately commit suicide. Like, it allows him to realise that, okay, I'm trapped inside this machine, but I can still help people, I can serve the public trust. And because it's so subtle, you don't need to say it. Because people like me on the internet will watch the movie 10 times and go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's awesome. So are there any other elements of Robocop you want me to break down and explain the hidden depth behind them when on the surface to a casual viewer, they do look kind of dumb?
I remember you saying something about Ed 209, like he's got more to him than meets the eye.
There is, yeah. And the most obvious is that he's supposed to be inefficient by design. And the idea behind Ed 209 being pushed for military use despite the fact it doesn't fucking work is basically the plot of every Metal Gear game. And that is that it's all about funding the war economy. It's about making money. It's not about whether or not it works or not. And that's why Robocop triumphs over Ed 209. And there's a load of cool things in the design of Ed 209 I quite like. The first is the grille on the front. The grille on the front of Ed 209, do you know what function that serves in the behind-the-scenes material?
Nothing?
No, you're absolutely right there. It doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. They actually put it on to make Ed 209 look cool. And they say that in the supplementary material because it's a nod to the fact that in the 80s, a lot of car manufacturers will put fake grills on the front of cars to make them look more powerful. And they do the same thing with Ed 209 because people think it looks cool. So it makes you assume that Ed 209 is it evokes the imagery of a powerful truck or something like that when it's completely pointless and has no purpose. Which I think is super fucking awesome, that idea. And the most blatant thing in the movie that showcases that Ed 209 was designed for intimidation and to look cool more than functionality is the fact it can't walk down fucking stairs. Even though Robocop himself kind of can't walk downstairs.
How did he get it up the stairs?
Oh, they put it comes up the lift.
Was it?
It comes up the lift, yes.
Right. But then tries to follow him down the stairs.
Yeah, because he doesn't realise that he can't walk downstairs. They have that moment, unironically, in the 2014 reboot when they make Robocop tactical black. It's like, oh yeah, let's make him look black so it looks cool, even though it serves no purpose. This is the exact thing they did with Ed 209, and that's why Ed 209 sucks ass, and you're doing it with Robocop. You fucking idiot.
I just don't want to talk anymore about the reboot because it just strikes me so much as so many... It had so many good ideas that could have worked if they'd done it a different way, and they just balls.
You mean if they'd just made a reboot of Robocop?
Or if they'd gone down a different angle of Robocop?
I would have liked the body horror element.
Yeah.
I would have liked the idea of a man being trapped inside and trying to escape, and then realising I'm a brain on a table.
And then parts maybe there's bits where part of his system gets disconnected and he can't move a limb, and he's all like.
You mean the thing that happens in Robocop? So they should have just remade. You know what they should have done? Is re-release Robocop the original in the cinemas in 4K. And let people go watch that because it's fucking...
Done it shot for shot with their Iron Man suit.
I could talk about Robocop all day, and I have done before, and probably will do again in the future. So to close off, Brad, I had mentioned something to you before, haven't I, about the Robocop soundtrack. And did you notice that when watching the movie again, with that in your mind?
I didn't, because I was watching the background of doing other stuff.
Okay. So for people at home, and I want the Robocop theme in the background as I say this. It's so fucking awesome. The Robocop theme is potentially one of my favourite pieces of music from a movie because the Robocop theme is representative of Robocop himself. And you probably think, Karl, you're fucking stupid. You're reading too much into it. No, listen to the Robocop themes. It's in the background now. It starts with orchestral elements, strings, something natural, something human-made, like Alex Murphy. And then in the background, the percussion kicks in, but the percussion is an anvil, something robotic, something artificial, machinery, industry that's getting added to the organic elements already present, just like fucking Robocop. And initially, those two bits, they don't fit together. But as the theme builds to a crescendo, the inorganic parts and the organic parts start to work together, just like Robocop does when he realises, I might be part machine, but I'm also part man and part fucking cop. And then it all comes together like da-da-da-da-da-da, as he's stomping through a fucking warehouse, shooting criminals in the dick forever. Robocop's the fucking best, man. I love it. So good. That theme is amazing. And they wrote it in like 2 days.